All right, and we are live. Welcome everyone to a special edition of GC Live. I'm Jack Veltri, along with my friend and normally the host of these shows, Mr. Joe Machika. Joe, how does it feel to get your own little intro this time instead of hype?
Yeah, Jack, it's definitely different, but we're both here for the same reason, and as is everyone watching. A lot of exciting stuff happening on this Monday in the hoops world. Obviously, South Carolina awaiting their fate to see where they are ranked in the AP poll, but a lot of exciting stuff, Jack. And obviously, that will come out while we're live, which is why we're hosting this special edition of GC Live. But no, Jack, it feels good getting the intro for once, as I'm usually the one giving you the big long intro. So yeah, it feels good to be here. And then, I mean, also too that the imminent thing that South Carolina, could possibly wind up ranked here pretty soon. So, obviously we're going to stay on the look out for it. But until that happens, we'll get you guys ready to see where South Carolina winds up.
Yeah, it was it's thank you all for joining, by the way. I see our viewership numbers are kind of just going up and up and up, and that's why we do this. I thought this would be a great idea to hop on, wait for the announcement, talk some hoops, and then once it comes through, we'll give our live reaction to it. We should expect the AP poll to come out around 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It normally, they say 1 o'clock, but it ends up usually coming out like a minute or two late. So once that comes up, we'll pull it up and we'll run through the breakdown of it. Assuming I think South Carolina probably will get ranked. It would be, I think, a crime if you go into Knoxville last week, you beat a top five team, and then you go on the road to Georgia. You have to pull off a second half comeback, and you end up winning by 10 points. So this is, in my opinion, a top 25 team, no doubt. I think the votes will reflect that, but we'll wait and see. It depends. I think it's more about where they're going to be ranked in the top 25, not so much as if okay, are they going to make the top 25?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would think they'd crack the top 20. In the Athletic, I believe one of the staff writers at the Athletic, he had South Carolina at, I think it was like either 18, I believe, which is pretty good. We also have Derek Gady guesses 15th. Robert Carnish says, come on, top 10. And then Touchdown TV chimes in 17 through 19. And then Let's Engrave 15 through 20. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm thinking, 15 through 20 range. I don't think that the committee would or the voters would leave them out of the top 20. I think after the last two wins, I think it's you can't leave them out of the top 20. So Jack, we'll see. Do you have an exact position on where you think they'll end up?
So, and go ahead in the comments, and if you want to drop where you think they're going to get ranked, we can run through them and all that. But my prediction, I was on 107.5 the game this morning, and Tyler had asked me, where do I think South Carolina is going to get ranked? I told him 14th. I think that feels about right because I think they're definitely a top 15 team in my opinion. I think that is not something to take lightly. Like I think they're going to make a jump, right? I don't think they're going to be just I don't think they're going to barely squeak inside the rankings. This is a good basketball team, and I don't think they're top 10 worthy yet because that's a huge jump to go from unranked to top 10 in the country. It's possible. I mean, I guess, but I think about that 14, 15 slot is about probably where I would imagine they'll be. Joe, where do you think they'll be ranked?
I mean, personally, I could see them like at 13, 14 kind of range. They're going to be just outside the top 10. I think it's really hard to go unranked into the top 10, like Jack was saying. But I think, these two wins are really quality wins. And to be able to beat Tennessee on the road, obviously out of the two games that you won in the past 2 weeks, and obviously you got snubbed a little bit for the Kentucky win. But I think the Tennessee one was more impressive. We kind of knew Kentucky was filled with, a team of one and dones, really talented young guys. But I mean, this Tennessee team has some veterans on it. And to be able to go, in Knoxville and beat them on their home floor, I think says a lot about this team. And Rick, yeah, we'll get to what Seth Davis did not have South Carolina ranked at all. Which I think, is criminal. But, I mean, we'll get to that in a second. And we will also get to the rankings as well as they come out. But, Jack, first, let's tell the people who we are brought to them by. First off, it is almost tax season, so let's talk about our good friends over at Liberty Tax. They are the best in the business. Tax ID is an uncertain feeling you get right before doing your taxes, but you don't have to go through it alone. The Liberty Tax team at Irmo, Lexington, and Columbia will walk you through the process, clear up any confusion, and guarantee you'll get the biggest possible refund or your money back. It's tax time. If you're in a hurry for your refund, call in the tax team at Liberty Tax. Fast, accurate, and guaranteed. On the other hand, if you think you might be owing Uncle Sam, talk to the Liberty Tax team to make sure you're not paying more than you should owe. They'll find every possible deduction for you. Locally owned and operated, staffed by tax professionals from your neighborhood, open 9 to 9 on weekdays and 9 to 5 on Saturdays with multiple service options. Start through the Liberty Tax mobile app or through the desktop portal. Make an appointment or just walk in. Give a call to upload your tax documents, and when you come in, your return will be ready to review and sign. Give them a call on your screen right now. And for those listening, 803-462-5576. Once again, 803-462-5576. Jack, our show is also brought to you by our good friend Clint Hammond of the Movement Mortgage Network. In need of help with your mortgage, call on our good friend Clint Hammond of the Movement Mortgage Network. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2003, which allows him to help everyone from the first-time home buyer to the complicated and complex jumbo buyer. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance, nothing is more important than a well-thought-out financial strategy that comes with 5-star customer service. He's even helped out our very own Wes Mitchell and former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth with their mortgages. So give our guy Clint a call. He's above us on all of our GC Live programming, 803-771-6933. Once again, 803-771-6933. Give our guy Clint a call. He's the best in the mortgage industry in Columbia. So, Jack, obviously, keep talking about the rankings here. Seth Davis I don't know how you can't rank the Gamecocks, right? Like, they're going to be ranked, right?
Here's the thing, and I think it's an honest mistake, probably.
Yep.
He sent that tweet out at 3 a.m. So obviously,
I'm sure there was a mistake in there.
I don't know what he was doing up at 3 a.m. It's either it was a drunk tweet or he just happened to get the juice. He probably woke up middle of the night, went down to get some water, and he's like, let me whip my phone out and throw a tweet together. But I mean, it's crazy, right? Because it's like I understand, people forget things, right? Yep. How the heck? This is a college basketball analyst, right? How do you forget to throw South Carolina in there? I mean, did he just forget that South Carolina went to Knoxville and beat Tennessee, and then the week before beat Kentucky? I mean, this is the most talked about college basketball team probably right now. The Cinderella story, if you will, right now. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not gonna say what happened or what didn't happen because I have no idea what is going through Seth Davis's head. But it's just like, come on.
They're going to be ranked, right? Jamie says, y'all crazy. It'll be 22. They hating on us. 2 teams in the top 25 have a better record, and only one has our same record. We should have been ranked after Kentucky. Had to clear that up. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, the Cards were in line to be ranked after Kentucky. And then, Tennessee, obviously, you saw what Lamont's team did. They internalized it. They used not being ranked as motivation. And now there's no doubt, right? There's no doubt that they're going to be ranked, or at least should be ranked. I think if they're not ranked, something is wrong and there was a computing error. But, you would think, right? Because they're tied, or they're in second place for the lead in the SEC. They're 1 game back of Alabama, and that's obviously the one game that you lost on the road in Tuscaloosa. And arguably the game that kind of kickstarted this run here too, because you got embarrassed in Tuscaloosa, right? And everyone started to say, "Oh, here we go again." Like, this might be, the same teams that we've been watching. They faced their first SEC test. Like, here we go again. But this team has since turned it around in tremendous fashion, played together as a team, and then use that loss to kind of, rebound and use it as momentum for the rest of the season. Like, take what they learned on the road and just not get beat that bad again. And so far, so good. They got through, the toughest month of their schedule, in my opinion, right? Obviously, you've got some things to do in February. You got to go on the road and beat Auburn, which is going to be, a really hard road test. But again, you've been on the road. You've won a really quality game on the road in Tennessee. So Auburn, shouldn't scare you one bit. And then, you look at March as well. You got to play Tennessee one more time, but that's at home. So, Jack, you really made it through the tougher part of your schedule, kind of unscathed. You had the one loss to Georgia, and then you had Alabama, but you won the games that you should have won. And then obviously you won the game. I don't think anyone was really giving them a fighter's chance against Tennessee.
Yeah. I think that's a fair way to look at it. And I think that comment that Jamie made is probably more realistic than like top 10 is probably not happening. Let's just call for what it is. Let's be realists here, guys. But top 15, like if I had to put a number on it or a confidence 1 to 10 in my confidence of that, I would give it like a 5 that they would be in the top 15. Now, like in the 20 to 25 range, I'm gonna go with like an 8 on that. I feel like my confidence is a lot more high in that. Just because, again, I think that is a fair statement that this team continues to get disrespected and overlooked. I mean, at the end of the day, let's also think about it this way: these rankings, while it's a nice little token of accomplishment and all that sort of fun stuff, in hindsight, it doesn't matter at all. Because we keep saying this. As long as you're one of the best 68 or 64 teams in March, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If they make the tournament, that's all that matters. Just you got to keep playing your brand of basketball. And hey, if you get ranked or don't get ranked, who cares? You still got a tough game on Tuesday against Ole Miss that you got to win. And I do think this team's going to get ranked. I mean, there's like I don't have a shadow of a doubt that they'll get ranked.
Yeah,
it's just where they end up. I definitely see them getting disrespected and being put towards the back half of the top 25. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, they have the quality wins, I think. Now in, quad 1 games, they're 3-2 on the year. In quad 2 games, they're 4-0. Obviously you can say the back half of the quad 3 and quad 4 are where most of their wins come from. But you also have to look at it like that's kind of how the schedule worked, right? They had the kind of, I don't want to say lackluster, but the easier non-conference schedule where your best wins come against Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Grand Canyon, teams like that, and arguably you should beat. But now with the SEC schedule being the way it is, with these really solid teams in the conference, you're getting these wins that you might not have had otherwise. So, if that's the argument for why South Carolina is not getting ranked higher, I guess it's a little understandable. But again, they're they're beating who they play. So I think 19-3, 7-2 now in conference play. Yep. I think this is a good team, man. I think they'll probably still get overlooked though. I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee says it matters when you want kids nationally to notice your program. Yeah, and Lee, I mean, Mike and I talked about this a little bit last night on the walkthrough. If you haven't checked that out, or if you couldn't make it last night, it is on the Gamecock Central YouTube page. Go back and check that out. But again, I think obviously, it takes a while to build up a program to a blue blood level, right? And I think, in this case, Lee, that, and I'm not, going after you here or anything like that, but, on the other side of your comment, right, it's going to take a while for, South Carolina to build up a national brand. Like that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen in a year, right? Now it does happen, right? Like, you do want to be ranked this year and you do want, this year to go as high, be as ranked as high as you can and, have all the successes, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't, replicate it within the next 2 or 3 years, right? In terms of like a national stage and bringing this up to a blue blood level. So, I agree with your point. It does matter nationally, and sure, there are some recruits that are certainly considering South Carolina and there's a number of different reasons there too. But Lamont likes his role players, right? If you fit in Lamont Paris's system, you're certainly taking notice of this team and of this program, right? If you play a brand of basketball that fits, kind of in the way that South Carolina has been playing recently, people are going to take notice for sure. So yeah, Lee, I appreciate the comment. Derek, I also liked your comment too. Our men's team is 19-3. That still blows my mind. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Dawn Staley and the women's team is kicking butt, 21-0. But then, yeah, this men's team 19-3. And then Yuva likes to throw the stat around, and it is getting thrown around quite everywhere. And I can't remember exactly what the combined record is of the two teams because obviously I'm not great at math off the top of my head, but South Carolina currently sits at as a whole, as a basketball program, they're currently at 40-3, which is crazy. It's craziness. 40-3, Jack. College basketball is running through Columbia, South Carolina right now.
It's the is it fair to say it's like the mecca of college basketball?
I guess you can make the point, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, it's a good vibe right now, right? I think everyone's having a hell of a time watching this team, both teams, I should say. I mean, you get sellouts at CLA all the time now, it feels like. I mean, this is the place people want to be. And, for the longest time, it's always been the women's team is the team of, the team in basketball in South Carolina. But now it's the men. I mean, I think it's both. I think, basketball is so much more popular here when the men's team is doing its thing. But also when you get the combination of the girls and the boys winning games and stuff, I think it's a hard combination to beat. And yeah, I mean, this is really the place to be right now. But we're about a few minutes away from the AP poll coming out here. It should be up a little after 1. Like I said before, if you want to drop your predictions for where this team is going to get ranked, you're more than welcome to do so. Like I said before, I said 14. I think more realistically, somewhere in the 20s. But if it were me, I would put them about 14. I think they I don't think they should have been ranked last week because, like I said, it's tough to make a jump from getting no votes 2 weeks ago to getting in the rankings last week. That would have been really surprising.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting, I think, 108 votes last week. So I think it's going to definitely be in somewhere at least the 200 range, if not more, at the bare minimum. But we appreciate everyone hopping on. We got a ton of people watching this, which was the goal, and we're happy to bring you some good coverage here.
Absolutely. I will say this, Jack, too. Andy Katz, who works for the NCAA and college basketball, very well known college basketball insider, has South Carolina at 9 in his new Power 36 that was just dropped. Yeah, 9. So I don't know, man. I've seen it everywhere, up and down the board. I think, I've seen some insiders put him in the top 10, but again, I think, the AP poll is going to be a little bit more, lenient on that. I don't think they crack the top 10, but again, Travis says 22, Sean 15, Vic jokes they will probably have us at 25, LOL. And yeah, Blake, number 9 in March Madness Power 36, according to Andy Katz, which again, I think realistically, if you look where this team is at record-wise and where they sit in the SEC, I think 9 is fair. But in terms of just the way that this season has gone and kind of the timeliness and the loss of Georgia too, it's going to take them a little bit longer to crack into the top 10. They're going to need to keep winning to be in the top 10. In terms of, and again, it's really hard to get ranked for the first time in the season to wind up in the top 10. So we'll see, right? But again, I think they're going to find their way into the rankings. I think there's zero doubt about that.
Oh, absolutely. And once we kind of figure out what the rankings are here in a second, we can kind of talk about the next step. But I mean, this is a team that now it's 1 o'clock. They definitely deserve to be in the top 25, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, hey, this team definitely is. They're definitely turning some heads, I think, this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe somebody asked where we are at in the net rankings, and I'm pulling that up right now. We're at 38th in the net as of February 4th. So yeah, that Nectarius brought it up. Yeah, 38th in the net. So I don't know how much these writers are looking at the net rankings to rank South Carolina, but again, certainly to see them at 38 in the net is something. And again, I think that, offers contradictory to seeing them in the top 10. Does that mean they won't end up in the top 25? Absolutely not. There are a lot of teams that are, out of the top 25 in the net that are ranked. So, again, these rankings and all of this, the only one, and obviously everyone, why we're live is we're waiting for the AP poll to come out, and it comes out here shortly. But again, 38th in the net. Ken Palm, Jack, do you have the Ken Palm numbers off the top of your head?
Yeah, so I checked it a minute ago. I believe they were number 44 in Ken Palm. Let's take a look. Yeah, number 44 in Ken Palm, which I don't know. I mean, there's so many different metrics to look at, and this happens to just be one of them. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not the best representation of numbers, but that's just me. I think the only one that really matters is the AP poll. Ken Palm's good for looking at specific stat metrics and stuff like, adjusted offensive efficiency, defense, your shooting percentages and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I use it just for that sort of stuff. Other than that, I like looking at the hardcore stats of, what's this team's, shooting percentage and stuff, but it's helpful. But
Yeah.
yeah. So we're waiting on this poll to come out. Like I said, it does take a minute or two to, yeah, the AP voters, I guess they're really figuring out where they're going to drop South Carolina. I think it's probably the hardest decision for them. Maybe, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. They probably saw Seth Davis's thing last night and were like, maybe we'll take something away from that. But
yeah,
and
I believe it's out.
Let's see.
It's coming in right now. I'm trying to refresh everything.
Yeah, I keep refreshing it on my end. It's kind of cool that we're doing this, though. It's nice to do some sort of live.
Yeah, appreciate everyone joining us here too. Obviously, we're all awaiting the rankings. Sean says 20 through 2025 or 25 is unacceptable if you compare records to other teams in the top 10. None of them have the record or recent achievements. Should be 15 at least.
Yeah.
Vic Sim says, I believe they should be top 15. Well, you're in luck, Jack. They're 15, correct? I believe from what I'm seeing.
I'm looking at the poll. I don't see anything. This is taking some time,
Mark
man.
Regal says top 10 team. Let's go. LP really the GOAT. Kawhi says there are two different questions floating out there. Where will the pollsters put
South Carolina is? Let's see. I'm looking right now.
Shannon says 15.
It still hasn't come out yet, but it's set. I just got some sort of alert, but it says South Carolina's in there. All right, South Carolina is number 15 in this week's edition of the AP poll. They received 564 votes, and they are one spot ahead of Alabama. Let's see. What else can we look at here? Everything else kind of looks the same in the top 10. Let's see. TCU, who was number 25.
I'm getting ready to pull these rankings up here too.
Yeah, pull them up. Yeah, number 15. I was one spot off. So I mean, in a way, it's not the worst guess I've made. But yeah, good for South Carolina. They I think that's how's everyone feeling about that? I think that's the big question here. Are we, are fans satisfied with this? But yeah, we'll see.
As I'm sharing the screen right now. Alrighty. That is all. Okay, so yeah, the latest and greatest AP poll is out. South Carolina, again, at the 15 slot, just ahead of Alabama and Kentucky, and just behind Auburn as well. So yeah, Jack, obviously you go on the road to play Auburn, later this month. That's going to be a really, really, really big game. And again, I appreciate everyone being in here. Pretty accurate. Rango says, yeah, how do you guys feel about it? Like, I mean, personally, I think 15 is pretty fair, right? Because considering we've been talking about it leading up to this as well, that, can't really see them in a top 10 spot. And again, I don't know why there is no logo. Miniclip.com. Trying to figure that out. The AP poll hasn't really loaded yet, but 15 is pretty fair for this team, I would say. You could see them a little bit higher, or I guess lower in the rankings technically than 15, but 15 right smack dab in the middle of the pack there, in the top 25. So yeah, pretty good. And they're ranked now, right? There is no more unranked motivation to be found now. I guess you just try to chase the top 10.
God, it's been a while when you don't have an updated logo for South Carolina in there. It's been since February 13th, 2017, and I might butcher this stat, but I think Mike Yuva tweeted it out yesterday. He tweets about this all the time, but it's been like 360 something weeks since South Carolina was last ranked. So, I mean. Now, I think the discussion is, okay, you got ranked. Now you gotta, keep how do you keep playing and keep climbing, I guess, per se, not letting this affect you, I think is the next question to be asked.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. It still, Chaz says, still feels a little bit low to me, but we never get the respect we've actually earned. So it is good enough, not a full slap in the face. I would agree, right? I don't think you were disrespected with 15 at all. Maybe a little bit. Maybe you move up a little bit to 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe, but I don't know, 15. It's again, Ken, yeah, decent love. Absolutely. I think, this is plenty of recognition for this program. And I mean, inside the building, maybe they think they deserved a little bit more, but just to be ranked, right? You weren't overshadowed again, and granted, by the body of work, you couldn't really be unranked again this week. But pretty solid stuff. In 15, you should be happy with that, especially with your schedule coming up. All you have to do is win, right, Jack? Like that's the only thing left to do. It's the only thing left you can do. To obviously improve your ranking, improve your chances of making the NCAA tournament. I think they'd have to have a really big falling off. Knock on wood. To not make the tournament at this point, which is crazy because Mike and I talked about it in length last night about how surprising this has been. I think, at the beginning of this season, you thought, this team's ceiling was making the tournament. Now they're, shots, a sure shot into the tournament at this point. And then, you're starting to consider it. It's like, is this team good enough to make a run? So very, very surprising, very big turnaround for Lamont Paris in year 2.
Oh, yeah. And kind of going back to those comments, not totally satisfied with top 15. Are you for real? Like what?
Yeah.
Look, I'm just going to be blunt. I get it. I think the one thing with fandom is that you cannot please everybody. That is something I've learned, especially with this fandom, is that you can't please everyone. And I get it, right? I think there is an argument to be made that South Carolina should be higher in the rankings. However, jumping from no votes 2 weeks ago to 108 votes last week to number 15 with 500 something votes in the rankings,
yep,
that's a jump up. I mean, what more do you want? They're not getting ranked number 1 in the country. I'm sorry, Purdue, UNC, those UConn, those are blue blood type teams. South Carolina is not getting the benefit of the doubt over teams that just keep winning in the top 10. That's kind of just the thing. Now, from here, they have their chances, right? You get Auburn, you get Tennessee again, Ole Miss twice, who, in my opinion, should be ranked as well. I think they're a good team, and I think they could definitely find a way to beat South Carolina tomorrow. But we'll see. I think it's possible. You never know. But to say that you're not totally satisfied with top 15 would be a real shame, in my opinion, just because, I mean, what more do you want? I mean, the AP poll, it's a tough job, I think. And, the fact that they are top 15 does speak volumes about, okay, they are starting to get some respect. I think now the goal is, okay, just keep climbing up. I think that's, this is a team at the beginning of the year was picked dead last in the SEC. And not many people, including myself, did not expect. I don't think anyone really expected to see this happen. So this is a huge step in the right direction, and we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, this team controls its own destiny. Todd makes a good point. Yeah, huge jump for 1 week, right? It's really all you can ask for. And again, Jack, circle back to my point about if this team feels satisfied. I don't think this team is going to feel satisfied until they have some kind of trophy in their hands, whether that be the NCAA or an SEC one. I think this team understands that they have, that they are doing well in one of the best conferences in college basketball this year. So they know the power that they have, and they know how far they can go. I think in their minds they know they can certainly achieve higher than 15, and it's just a start, right? So I think it's a very big deal to be ranked this week. And again, you've got a long ways to go, still yet in this season, but again, your destiny is right in front of you. Jack, I guess besides win, what else does this team, have to do? How do they have to have success at the, SEC tournament to still make it?
So I'm glad we're hitting on this. We would definitely hit on it this week during the hard foul, which we're still going to do this week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll totally do that later this week, and we'll touch more in depth on all the games last week and whatnot. But yeah, I think you're at 19 wins now. I think at the beginning of SEC play, I wrote a story and I was like, okay, you probably want to win maybe 20 to 21 games in the season, and that would mean you're probably about 7 to 8 wins in conference play. And then you go into Nashville, where the SEC tournament's going to be this year. You probably have to win 2 games there to make it maybe to the NCAA tournament or the NIT. Now, with forward thinking and stuff, and seeing what's happened, I mean, they're already at 7 wins in SEC play. I would say right now, if they end up, because right now I think they're second in the SEC right now in terms of standings and whatnot. I would say as long as they are a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament, that would give them an automatic bye. I think their first game would be on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. If they were to win and get into the semifinals on Saturday, I think that's pretty much all they need. As long as they keep this up. If they can get to, let's see, they have 9 conference games already. You have, I think, 9 more to go. You're at 19 wins. If you can somehow finish, I would say if you finish the regular season with 25 wins, that should more than enough get you in. And then assuming you just don't, as long as you're a seed that's high enough in the SEC tournament and you get to play on that Friday and whatnot, then I think you will be fine. Just get to semifinal, get to Saturday at least in Nashville, and I think you all but solidify yourself as going on a trip somewhere for March Madness, which that's crazy. I mean, Joe, you and I kind of, I don't want to say fantasized, but we hinted at maybe like the fact of like, is this a possibility? Like a few months ago, and I mean,
I think it's always been a possibility, right? This team has turned it into a reality at this point. DB, I see DB again. It would have to collapse. It would have to collapse, right, for them to not make the tournament, right? There still is a possibility, but as of now, they're sitting pretty, right? I think if as long as they continue on the trend that they're on, and not lose like every other game in their schedule, they should be fine, right? But there still is a possibility of things going off the rails, and knock on wood, right, that things don't go that way. But as of now, right, they are sitting pretty. Big Red makes a point. Would being ranked this high almost guarantee a tournament bid?
Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed in life.
Nothing is guaranteed. But again, you're sitting pretty right now.
Yes,
you're sitting really pretty. You should like exactly where you're at in terms of a tournament bid. But again, you can't get embarrassed at the SEC tournament. You can't get embarrassed in March, right? You need to hold on, right? Obviously January was your harder month, but again, you need to hold on. You still have tough games in February, and you have even tougher games in March, right? You got to play Tennessee again. And sure, that one's at Colonial Life, but Big Red and DB, I don't think there's any guarantee at this point, because it's only February 5th, right? We just got through the month of January. There's still plenty of basketball left to be played. And Ken makes a good point. 15 is a really good start. At least they're getting some respect. If nothing else, we know they can go higher. They're driven now. Absolutely, Ken. This is a great point as well. Good start for your first ranking of the year.
Yes.
To not have to come in and stumble in at 25, 24, 23, maybe 20. They're straight. They're solidified. They're in the rankings. They're a top 25 team without any doubt. Being labeled at 15, right? So they are getting some respect. Now, is it the potential? Like, is it all of the respect that they're getting that they deserve? Probably not, right? Could they be ranked a little bit higher? Yeah, maybe. But again, I think 15 is a really, really good start. Big Red asks, how does this team stack up to the Final Four teams so far this season? That's a tough one, right? Mike Uva was making a lot of comparisons back to the Final Four team last night on the walkthrough. Again, I'll plug that. You can go back and watch that on the Gamecock Central YouTube channel. But Jack, I think this team stacks up pretty good with the Final Four team. But the only difference is, and Mike made a really good point, is that this team has, solidified guard play, right? There are 2 guards that are the dude, right? You have Talon Cooper and Michi Johnson that are certified hoopers. And then you also have Miles Studi helping out as well. And who's, I don't know if I could call Miles Studi a role player because he's very, very involved. He came back from injury and has been a focal point of this team. So you really have three guys, right? Like last night I was talking about that you mainly have two guards, but I mean, when you factor Studi in there too, you have a three-headed monster in the front court or in the back court, excuse me, that leads the way. And in a guard-heavy league like the SEC, you need that, right? You need to have good guard play to have success. And, I shout out to Mike Yuva for bringing up that point because, yeah, I think the big difference between this team and the Final Four team is the guard play, right? I think you're so much deeper at guard. And you look at the guys coming off the bench, Zach Davis, right? I mean, has been such a good role player for you. And so, yeah, I mean, the guard play is better than this Final Four team. And really, I mean, in terms of buy-in and defensive end, I think it all lines up. So, and that team went on a magical Final Four run, right? And so I don't think it's out of the realm of the possibility for this team to go on a run in March. I don't know if the Final Four is in. Jacoby Wright too, absolutely, yeah. I don't know if the Final Four is within this team's wheelhouse, but again, call it, I've been surprised by this team plenty of times before this season, so I wouldn't put it past them to make it to the Final Four. It's the NCAA tournament, Jack, as well as anybody else. Anything can happen, right? So anything can happen, and when you're playing good basketball, right, I think from the South Carolina team, you want to see them continue that, right, and continue it into the SEC tournament. They're playing good basketball right now with a lot of momentum, so all they have to do is keep it up.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, by the way, first off, thank you for choosing Gamecock Central as your destination on YouTube this afternoon. But if you are just joining us, seriously, yeah, or on Facebook too. Wherever you're joining us, thank you. South Carolina is ranked number 15 in this week's edition of the Associated Press poll, which is the main basketball ranking system that everyone seems to look at. So 15th with 564 votes this week. And I mean, Joe, you hit just about every single nail on the head. I think, the rankings are cool, but at the end of the day, it's not the final destination. This is not the championship. It's a nice little accolade. Don't get me wrong, but you could lose it next week. That's the thing. You lose a game or two this week, you probably drop out. If you keep winning, you either stay where you're at or you get higher. It just depends. It's kind of going to be a watch and see as long as they keep playing well every week where, we're having this discussion of, okay, where are they getting ranked this week? They're going up, they're going down. We'll see. Now, with the question from Big Red with the Final Four team, I'm giving my take on it. I don't know. Truthfully, I didn't really, that was before either Joe and I went to school here. I can only imagine how nuts it was from hearing stories about the Final 4 days with, 5 points being a zoo and people jumping in the fountain and whatnot. And that magical run that team made where they, they beat Duke, they went to MSG and, won the one of the regions. And then they go to Arizona and Phoenix and I think they lost to Gonzaga, right? So in the Final Four. So that was a magical year. And I think the thing is, I think this team is better than the Final Four team. I think the thing with March Madness that most of y'all probably know by now from watching over the years is it's all about getting hot at the right time, right? You can be a complete underdog, have zero chance, no one give you a shot, and you end up making a run like that, Cinderella run, if you will. It happens almost every year now. We see lower seeds doing it. We saw UMBC beat number 1 seed Virginia as a 16 seed for the first time like 5 years ago. We saw, I'm trying to think, what's Sister Jean? What's the Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago. I'm sorry. Here's another good comparison. We saw Penn State last year make a run as like a 10 seed or whatever in with Shrewsbury, right?
Yes.
Who's now at Notre Dame. Made a run to the Big Ten championship. I think they lost to Iowa or Purdue. Can't remember who.
Yes.
And then they got to, I think, the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament last year. So there's so many different examples. St. Bonaventure, other schools like that. St. Peter's. It's just you never know whose day it can be. That's kind of the way I look at it. And with South Carolina, I think it comes down to the way they play defensively. I think this defense is championship caliber, in my opinion. I think the way they made the adjustment on Saturday to go into the 1-3-1 zone defense in the second half, they clamped down on Georgia, only allowing 22 points. And Georgia was awful shooting from the field after that miracle type run they had in the early going. So, and then like Joe said with the guard play, I think the guard play is very solid. And Miles Studi, I don't know if I'd call him a role player. I think, this guy was
he deserves a lot more than a role player. I couldn't think of the word. Miles Studi is a very main focal point on this team. Role player is a little bit of a stretch. So apologies to the Studies if they're watching. But no, Miles Studi is a very important part of this team.
Yeah.
And Jack, I hate to cut you off, but Big Red asks, who's your breakout player this season? Cooper is my vote. He's money in the clutch. To be different, I did have an answer prepared for this. But I think CMB has been the breakout player of the year, right? In terms of what you needed, right? Because you knew what you were going to get from BJ Mack when you got him, right? You knew what you were going to get from Michi when you got him. Talon Cooper, a little bit, again, that's Big Red's vote, so I'm not going to steal his. But, I think CMB has been really, really good because, you weren't sure what you were going to get, especially after the Mono episode, right? He's came back from Mono and been one of the best big men in the SEC. To be able to, continue to enforce the paint. And I talked about this last night too. BJ Mack and Josh Gray are like yin and yang at center. BJ Mack is more offensive, likes to shoot the ball a little bit more, a little bit quicker. And then you get Josh Gray who comes in and, is a terror in the post. He dunks a lot, blocks shots, that kind of thing. And so CMB is kind of the middle of all of that, right? He can do it both, right? He's been enforcing the paint. He can shoot the ball. He can score at the rim. And plays really, really good defense, and that's really hard to do as a freshman, right? So, in terms of a breakout player, Big Red, I got my money's on CMB.
Yeah, I'm gonna not be cool and just go with the obvious vote. Talon Cooper, easy. Yeah. This guy, I keep saying it, is the single-handedly the best addition this team could have made out of the transfer portal. The guy is a leader, has a ton of experience. He's a hell of a shooter, and his defense continues to get better. He is just everything you want in a basketball player. And it does suck that, he's not going to be around next year. So, we'll see what kind of legacy he leaves at South Carolina in 1 year. But it's safe to say this team is nowhere without him. But going back to one thing, with this comment, nothing is guaranteed.
It's not.
No, it's not guaranteed. And I wanted to touch on this because, there's another comment. And I think this is a very, very good comment from our guy, Todd Gwynn. I don't trust the committee ever since 2016. Now, what he's referring to is the 2015-16 season where South Carolina, swept through non-conference play, no problem that year in 2015-16. Played really well. You get into conference play, you finish 11-7 in conference play. You're 24-7 going into the SEC tournament as a 3 seed. And then you lose by 1 point to Georgia in the quarterfinals that year. So you finish that, after the SEC tournament, you're 24-8. You're thinking, okay, maybe there's a chance they make the tournament, right? They get left out. They go to the NIT instead as a 1 seed. So they were obviously one of the first teams to be left out, or final teams to be left out, I should say. And they lose in the second round of the NIT. So because of that, I know it's a different year. It's almost 10 years ago and all this sort of stuff. But it is something to think about. The committee has disrespected South Carolina before, so who's to say it doesn't happen again? It's on South Carolina to not let their fate be decided by someone else. I think if their play continues to be as good as it has been, then they're going to be the ones that determine where they end up. It'll be more about, okay, where are they going to be playing in the NCAA tournament compared to, okay, are they going to make it or no? I think what you want going into the rest of this year is you probably want to finish around that 25 win mark, get a win in the SEC tournament, prove that, okay, we're going to leave our stamp on this season and we're making it as tough as possible for the guys that vote on this to not leave us out. And if they do everything I literally just said, good chance they're getting in. I just think it would be so hard to leave this team out if they're a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament and then they win a game like they should. I mean, come on. It'd be super tough. And I think that would be extremely disrespectful to be left out if you get to like that 25, 26 win mark plateau. But I mean, just keep winning games. That's the goal.
Alec asks, do you think this is too low, too high, or just right? Alec, I think at this point, I think it's just right. Yeah, again, for their first ranking of the year, I think it's just right. Yeah, maybe could you, and I mentioned this, could you squeeze them a little bit lower on the ranking, I guess, technically, or higher up, in 14, 13, 12, 11 spot? Yeah, but there are also some really, really darn good teams in that spot, right? You look at Iowa State, Baylor, Auburn's a really good team. Wisconsin, Illinois. Granted, the record, is a little different than those teams, but again, Illinois and Wisconsin are Big Ten teams, and then Auburn obviously playing in the same league as you. But Alec, I think in terms of this week, I think 15 is just right at the moment. Jack, did you have anything about that before we get to Scrambled Eggs' comment?
Yeah, definitely just right. I think people that are insane to think that this team is like a top 5 team in the country. It's not realistic. But this was a very good spot, I think, for the voters to put them in. It shows that they are getting some respect now. And I wonder if the logo's updated on the AP poll if we refreshed it.
Let me refresh real quick.
Like, it's just, I think it's very comedic that happens. Like, every other team gets their little logo and stuff, and then there's little South Carolina. But yeah,
no logo yet. That's crazy. That's you guys watch me refresh that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. It's not on my end for sure.
And Todd, I think you make it sound easier than it probably is. Now, here's another thing, guys. If you win the SEC tournament, you're an automatic qualifier. And by that point, if South Carolina continues on the pace they are and they win the SEC tournament, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but at that rate, I'm thinking they're probably in the discussion for a potential 1 to 2 to 3 seed. Getting a 1 seed might be tough because you have the teams like UConn and UNC and Purdue that are all right now. They're in line to be the 1 seeds. But if you win the SEC tournament, I think South Carolina is in real talk for a 2 seed, which would be fantastic for them. So getting to the comment from Scrambled Eggs, they blamed Seton Hall and Memphis losses on not making the tournament in 2016. We did what we needed to do in the non-con this year. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. They took care of business. Like, okay, they don't have the marquee wins in non-conference play. Oh well. They beat who they needed to beat. And now they're taking care of business in SEC. So the discussion should not be about, okay, like unless they go on some downward spiral the rest of the regular season. They've done what they've needed to do. They have the quality wins now. Now it's just about keeping it up. I think that is the main goal you have the rest of the year. Take it one game at a time. Try to win every game you can. Don't suffer any 40-point blowouts or anything. That would be the worst thing you could do. If you lose by like 30 points to someone, that's not, I don't know. Like, you can have off nights and stuff, but you don't want to lose badly to anyone. Close losses, I think, are the exception. So,
yeah. But, no, I agree. Scrambled Eggs is a great point. Taking care of the non-con. Granted, it wasn't, the hardest non-con schedule in the world, but you got the job done, right? That's the only thing you can do in the non-conference schedule. A big win over Virginia Tech. Obviously, you would hope Notre Dame would have been a little bit better and helped you out. Maybe a couple upset victories, but it doesn't look like, they're going to, upset anybody at this point. Your non-con isn't as hard as everyone else's, but again, you got the job done at the end of the day. That's the only thing you need. Neil G says, let's not pretend to know how good they are. Maybe Final Four, maybe NIT. Yeah, I mean, Neil, this is – I think it's safe to say, like, I think this team is tournament quality. But, again, I'm with you here, too, at this point. Like, right, like, this team could be really, 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 really good. And I think at this point, I think, in my mind at least, they've solidified, in my opinion, that they're good enough to not have the wheels fall off and everything and just have the worst 2 months of basketball you've ever seen a team play. I think they're better than that, regardless. So obviously they're going to lose, right? But I think, because I think thinking that they're going to go the rest of the season undefeated is a little delusional, but I don't think it's out of the question either, right? You got some really tough games left on the schedule, but I forget who said 7-2 on the way out or for the rest of the year, but it's certainly realistic. But again, I mean, they're going to lose a game before the end of the year. Who that is, we'll see. But
are you sure? Are you sure about that? They're going to lose.
No, I'm not sure. Which is why I brought up Neil's point. I'm not sure. I'm not. I think there's enough in my mind to say that they again won't completely collapse. But I mean, do I know how many games they're going to win? No. And do I know if they're capable of winning out? No. Like I really don't know how good this team can actually be. Right. I think it's within the realm of possibility to win out. Right, Jack? Wouldn't you say that's fair? Like they most certainly can win out.
Pull up the schedule. Pull up the schedule.
Yeah. All right, I'll pull up the schedule. I got
we're gonna run through this quick for those of you who are still tuned in to us.
Yes.
As a special gift. You'll get our legitimate possible prediction. Yeah,
we'll run down the schedule with you.
I keep saying 25, 26 wins. Well, who are those losses going to be? Because they got to lose at some point then. But answering one comment real quick from Big Red, who keeps delivering good comment after good comment. Really appreciate it.
I love our guy, Big Red.
Any chance we won the conference in the regular season? Would that qualify us for the tournament, or do we need a few SEC tournament wins even then? Winning the SEC in regular season is a great thing, and that should not be overlooked at all. However, that does not guarantee anything. I think, like I said, if you win the SEC regular season title, you're the 1 seed then going into Nashville.
Yeah.
By then, you get all the benefits of being you play the lower seeds and stuff. You should be able to win. You should be able to hopefully win the tournament title, to leave no doubt. But if you win a game or two, that's probably the goal. All right, so looking at this schedule here, let's take this comment off. Anyway, so looking at the schedule, Ole Miss, I'm going to say that's a win. Joe, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's leaning towards win. Obviously, it's at home. You got back-to-back home games at Colonial Life, I think, which is a really big advantage. But yeah, I mean, Ole Miss is certainly a team that can beat you, but will they? I don't think so.
All right. That means you're at 20 wins. Vanderbilt, that's a win. If you lose to Vanderbilt, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. No, Vanderbilt is they're not that good. So that should be a win at home. At Auburn, I'll be there in Auburn. Very excited about this trip. I don't know. I think South Carolina can win. I think South Carolina would win.
I mean, I think it's within the realm of possibility, right? But from what I'm not going to make any specific prediction, put it in stone here. Like I'll leave it to is it a game that they can lose? Yeah. Yes. Can they win it? Yeah. And do I think they'll beat Auburn on the road? I do not think they're going to beat Auburn on the road. I think Bruce Pearl is too good of a basketball coach. But then again, I've been surprised by this team, right? I think they lose against Auburn. And then obviously Saturday the 17th, I think they take everything into that, game and just, reestablish dominance, right?
Here's where I think the loss comes. I think at Ole Miss, say what you will, I think they're going to lose. I think Ole Miss is very on par with what South Carolina is doing this year. However, if there's a team that's not getting the type of respect that South Carolina is getting now, it's probably Chris Beard's squad there at Ole Miss. I think they're pretty up. I think they have the same record, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. But Ole Miss, they're a good team this year. They were, sellers dwellers last year, and now look at them. They're kind of like South Carolina at the top of the SEC. So I see them dropping that game. Then you go to Aggie Land to play Texas A&M. On paper, I think you should win that game. But it's another road game. If you come off a loss against Ole Miss, you got to find a way to win the next game. You can't be dropping multiple games in a row. But for right now, I think they can win that game. Florida at home.
You should win that one. right?
Should.
I think, and again, you should beat Ole Miss. You should beat Texas A&M on the road. You should beat LSU at home, right? Florida at home. You should beat them. Again, like Scrambled Egg says, he ran through last night. Auburn and Tennessee are the only team that concern me. I'm in the same boat, right? I think that Tennessee is going to be coming for a vengeance. And, you have to bring the same energy, right? I think, going into that game, against Tennessee on the road, you were pissed off that you weren't ranked. You knew that you could make a statement. You can't get complacent in this matchup against Tennessee, right? Towards the end of the season, a lot of teams are going to be like, all right, our future solidified. We still, we're probably looking good for the SEC tournament. We're probably looking good for the NCAA tournament. They cannot slack off at all against Tennessee at home because they will come in and mollywomp you really quickly. So you need to bring that same energy, same motivation against Tennessee at home. Can they win? Obviously, yes, they can. Do they need to win it, to make the tournament or any like? I don't think you need to win that game necessarily.
Okay.
It would be nice, and it would leave zero doubt in anyone's mind
Tennessee?
that you belong, in the tournament, ranked as high. And like again, I saw somebody also as well commenting, South Carolina should be playing for their seeding at this point, right? And I think it's a valid point. It's a valid point. Like that you're probably, again, knock on wood, you're probably in the NCAA tournament. Barring a miraculous collapse here. But, at this point, you want to be seated as high as possible. And again, try to get into that Charlotte regional as well.
Yeah. Were you talking about Tennessee, bud?
Yeah, I was talking about Tennessee. And then, Todd says Mississippi State will be tough. Glad we have them.
Oh, yeah. It's funny that they get to end the year with Mississippi State. Tennessee, I'm gonna be real. I don't know if Tennessee's all that. I know they beat Kentucky on the road, and Kentucky might be fraudulent in and of itself, putting up 100 points, and that Zakai Ziegler kid had so many points. However, I just think you were able to go beat them in Knoxville, and the way this defense plays, they had a good plan. I think they can replicate it. I think Dalton Connect. He is by far and away the best player on this Tennessee team. But you held Zakai Ziegler, the next best shooter on this team, to 2 points, I think. And then everyone else, Vescovi had 10 points. Other than that, everyone else is pretty much locked down. I think replicate the same type of plan. Obviously, Tennessee's going to be pissed. We've seen this in football. Pissed last year that they lost to South Carolina, and then they went, beat them. I know it's two different sports, but it's still the same type of energy. Yeah. But the thing is, they got to go to Columbia and on a Wednesday where 7 o'clock, it's going to be packed. It's going to be a sellout crowd if they keep playing this well. I just think, I don't know, man. I think if you have an off night like they did shooting, I think South Carolina beats them again. I think South Carolina's defense is good enough to do it. And then at Mississippi State to end the year, I'm gonna call that a loss. I think.
And that's going to be tough. That's kind of, I guess, the one trap game, right? To end the year at Mississippi State, that's going to be really, really tough. Mississippi State is, again, one of those teams that you can certainly lose to, right? Out of any of the unranked teams that they have left, I would, Jack, I'd go up there and say Mississippi State would probably be the most reasonable team that they'd lose to. Obviously, you could see them losing to Auburn or Tennessee because, again, those teams are both, on your level. But Mississippi State would be the one unranked team that I can see them losing to from here on out.
Totally. So with that all in mind, I would say who would I have them losing to? Ole Miss and Mississippi State right now. Maybe one more game in there. That would probably put them at, I think, 26-5, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 27-5. With that said, that could be good enough to win the SEC regular season title. But that's just kind of where we see this happening. Obviously, Joe, you have the loss against Auburn and maybe Tennessee. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I think this team's on a good track right now, and I think we're at a good place where we can kind of wrap this show up.
I was just about to say, like, we appreciate everyone being in here today. Like, a little special edition of GC Live. Maybe we will next week we'll do the same thing with the rankings just to kind of see where they're out. But appreciate everyone, tuning in, listening to us, joining us, letting us know all your thoughts on the men's basketball team. Todd says CLA will be rocking for that Tennessee game. Yeah, absolutely. That'll be the last one true home game of the season. Senior day as well, I believe. So that'll be a big one at Colonial Life. So pack the place. Also pack the place tomorrow night against Ole Miss. Yeah, 6:30 tip-off. So get there early, get loud. Tickets as low as $9. ESPN is telling me right now. So get out to Colonial Life, support the Gamecocks. And again, appreciate everyone tuning in. This has been fun, Jack.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a time. The 90-something people left in this chat. Was not expecting that through an hour of doing this. We got as high as maybe like the 250s. So, hey, we really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. If you guys want us to do this again next week, I'm down. I'm here. It's a lot of fun to kind of go through this. So, we appreciate everyone tuning in and joining us. Again, I'm Jack Veltri. That's Joe Machica. Really appreciate it. See you later tomorrow, 6:30. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.